Mzansi, sanamukela la Dijo Le Bophelo on SABC2. This is your favorite show. Ngoba it's the only show dealing with food consciousness nama health issues. Every week sinimeme ukuthi nisibuze noma yini enifuna ukuyazi ngokudla. Bese ke thina la kwaDijo Le Bophelo thola ongqondo bethu ukuthi baphendule imibuzo yenu. Now we do see your posts on our social media pages. That's why namhlanje sikhuluma nge-food addiction. Yazi ama-study asibonisile ukuthi certain foods affect our brains in the same way as utshwala, nicotine, ukubhema, heroin and cocaine. Tebogo has posted a video on our Instagram page with a few questions ngale ndaba le ye-food addiction. Ake simuzwe.
Hello Dijo Le Bophelo. Ke na le dipotso mabapi le food addiction ke kopa dikarabo. Ke tseba ha jwang hore ke food addict.
Siyahamba siyohlangana noTebza to learn more about him before simphendule.
Ka lebitso ke Tebogo ke dilemo tse 26 ke dula Kwakwa Thawadimaka ke motho a ratang mmino haholo ke motho a ratang dijo haholo ka ho ha ene le hore ke a patala ka ho etsa seo tlamehile be ke mongwe wa barui ka jeko ke motho a ithatelang di-snack di-sweets cold drink le di-takeaway ka ho ha ke bone phoso ka ho ja dijo mofuta wa dijo hobane ke dijo tse ke di ratang ke dijo tse ke di thabelang tse ke dulang ke di ja kgafetsa le kgafetsa hangata ke utlwe batho ba re ke motho a addicted mofuteng wa dijo di-junk food empa ha ke so ka ba ke kgola seo ke bone addiction ho nna ke motho a ratang cigarette jwala ke o tsona di-addiction le metswalle ya ka mehla ba dula ba re wena monna o motho a addicted dijo le bophelo ke tseba ha jwang ha ile hore na ke addicted ho dijo.
After the break, we are joined by Sindiswa Mlotshwa, who's a psychologist. She'll be answering imibuzo ka Tebogo. Join the conversation go Twitter at Dijo Le Bophelo or Facebook me or Instagram me Dijo Le Bophelo, or why don't you email me dijolebophelo at sabc.co.za. Siyabuya manje. Welcome back. Usasanamela Dijo Le Bophelo. Namhlanje sikhuluma nge-food addiction, which is something people take very lightly. Psychologist Sindiswa is going to be giving valuable answers to Tebogo's questions. But let's find out more about Sindiswa before we go through. Good morning, Sindiswa. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Before the break, we heard Tebogo says people are saying to him he's addicted to food. He disagrees, so he wants to verify and he wants to know how one can tell if he's a food addict. He has specific questions that he posted on our Instagram page, so we'll be answering these questions with our expert. You can also join Gule on Twitter at Dijo Le Bophelo, Instagram or Facebook me Dijo Le Bophelo, or email me dijolebophelo at sabc.co.za. Cindy,
yes.
Shall we start this discussion?
Sure.
Is it possible for one to be a food addict?
Well, there's no easy answer to it. There's no straightforward answer to it because if you take it from a diagnostic level, if you're a practitioner, for instance, there's no such thing called food addiction. You won't find it in our DSM or our Bible, so to speak. But there are disorders that are related to people eating more than they should, such as binge eating disorder. There's also bulimia nervosa. And those disorders really pertain to a person eating a large amount of food, more than they probably would have had they, made the decision. You know, most people don't want to eat that much, but mostly sometimes they do want to eat that much because they have a craving, a desire to fill themselves, fill an emotional void. Maybe they're feeling depressed and then they want to fill that problem, and they use that. I guess the food becomes sort of a drug for them, so that they can feel better about themselves or feel some other way.
So are they married, overeating and being addicted to food?
Normally, the food that you'll be addicted to are foods that are addictive. You're unlikely to be addicted to celery, for instance, because it doesn't stimulate you. It doesn't produce something in your brain, your neurochemistry, that causes you to want more of it. And you can overeat, but now overeating, you need to, I guess, look at the terminology there. And consider that when you're overeating, I can overeat, for instance. I can overeat today, but then tomorrow I'm not going to overeat because I'm not addicted to food.
I hear you.
I'm just eating a lot because there's a buffet. So there's free food. So obviously I'm going to eat all that food, but I'm not addicted to eating.
Cindy, please let me know if this is true or false. I did some research, and then, but if people answer yes to at least 3 of these questions, then they might be addicted to food. One says, I eat to the point where I feel physically ill. And then, another one says, I spend a lot of time feeling sluggish or fatigue from overeating. And also, I find that when I start eating certain foods, I end up eating much more than I planned. So, good to pagela, and then ufuna some more. So, if you answered yes to 3 of these questions, then you might be a food addict.
I guess we could say that because if you go into, you know, the DSM again, which is our
Bible.
Manual, our Bible, yes. You find that for a person to be addicted to, let's say, a substance, they need to not be able, they might want to stop using a particular substance, but they can't. Even if they know or they see that this thing is destroying my life, I might die, it's messing up my time at, you know, my work ethic and so forth. So those criteria are very important to consider. You can start thinking of yourself as maybe I'm addicted to food. And maybe I should start doing something because I'm overdoing this eating thing and I can't stop myself. The brain is, it's like an elastic band. You can move it any way you want to move it. Various things that you start doing can become habits, basically. So your brain starts to learn, for instance, that, we eat this much sugar. I'll carry on requiring all this into my system and asking for more into my system because this is what the body needs. It starts to think that way, but not that that is right. It's not right for your system.
But you train it to think that way.
But you kind of train it. Various parts, for instance, with regards to maybe, let's say you're having a lot of sugar. Various parts of the brain are stimulated. So you have what we call the anterior cingulate, for instance, which is right in front by your prefrontal cortex, basically that area. And that has to do with your reward system, your reward activation. So when you have sugar, for instance, that particular part is anticipating to be rewarded. So it keeps wanting more and more and more, and then that is what causes you to be addicted to or want more sugary stuff.
Can you change that?
Eat a lot of sugary stuff.
Can you change that? Is that about training your brain the other way around?
You have to retrain. You have to retrain. It's like any other addiction. If you're addicted to alcohol, you have to start retraining your system to now stop utilizing or using those particular substances. But again, it's a process. Oftentimes you can't just stop a particular substance, especially the more dangerous ones. You can't just stop them, and oftentimes you need to go to a rehabilitation center because you might need a medication that will make sure you don't die. Now, I'm not saying that you'll die from food addiction. If you withdraw, I'm saying if you stop immediately with food addiction, you won't necessarily die immediately. But if you're using a substance that's very serious, like meth, for instance, you need to make sure that there is a psychiatrist, a psychologist, someone who is aware that you are now stopping the substance, for instance.
I hear you.
But with food addiction, obviously, with every other addiction, you need support. That's why people have Alcoholics Anonymous,
Is there
for
a support
instance.
group for food
Well,
addiction?
not in South Africa.
But other parts of the world there is.
There are in other parts of the world.
Yeah.
You could just speak to your family, explain to them what's going on, and then they can be your support system.
Okay.
To help you.
But in the I think border because you are addicted to sugar. You have a lot of it.
Yeah.
Diabetes type 2.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the day.
Yes. And futhi bangane cancer. It can cause cancer.
Do you see now?
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear the question that Tebzala.
Ke kopa le ntjwetse ke dijo di feng tse leng more addictive.
Cindy. But list the types of foods that are more addictive.
I think you have them behind there. It's mainly foods that have to do with your ushukela, basically. But I think we've already mentioned, ushukela tends to stimulate, and I think studies are showing more and more ushukela does have addictive tendencies, and they can stimulate a person to a certain extent. So certain foods like this, for example, and I think is this chocolate, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, ma'am.
Chocolate as well can be very addictive. Because they made a lot from sugar, but also because, there's also the caffeine in the sugar. And actually, there are disorders that I think it's caffeine use disorder. You can diagnose a person and say, you have this disorder, for instance. Yes. And so those are the kinds of foods generally that can be addictive or that tend to be more addictive.
Speaking of chocolate, sorry, Sindiswa, dark chocolate, would you say the same thing applies?
Dark chocolate, yes, because it's got caffeine. It's got a lot of caffeine, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So dark chocolate as well.
So chocolate as a whole, yeah?
Chocolate generally.
It's
got sugar, it's got caffeine, it's
so
got cocoa.
There's no escape?
No.
Okay.
You can have alternatives, but
it's addictive. Yeah. Okay. And, come on. Ikeke, ligasis may.
Keke, no sugar nalo.
Yes.
Yeah, so nalo nje, it takes you away. Chocolate cake nje, nalo yabona chocolate cake. It's also got cocoa, your cocos, so it's not 100% great.
So it's a no, because it could be addictive. You already spoke about this.
You know about people who, every day you wake up in the morning, the first thing you have to have is your caffeine.
Caffeine, nicotine.
Exactly.
Mabangati, 1, 2, done. And then later, bafuni red wine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the problem with caffeine can be diagnosed. For instance, if you're addicted to it, you have caffeine use disorder. So, there's people who can't carry on with their day without having had that one fix, I guess we can say, of coffee, that 1 cup of coffee or a few cups of coffee.
Yeah.
So that already indicates that maybe you are addicted to coffee and they might have it more than once a day. So that's already a red light, so to speak. Yeah. And or a red flag, rather. Yeah. And you should be a bit wary of that because then it does affect your system and it does stimulate your system. Yeah.
Wow. And then, of course, dairy. Yeah. I know people love their flavored yogurt and their cheese. And, this is actually nice cheese. But normally there's the yellow cheese that people actually go for. Yeah.
So I think, again, it goes back to, these things tend to be flavored a lot. They're flavored. You add a lot of sugar in it because you want their taste buds to want more of it and to continue buying that yogurt that you're distributing. Yeah. And so it can also have addictive tendencies to some extent. So you can be addicted to your yogurts. You can have too much of all of these things, basically.
So the trick, as I'm listening to you, is just to retrain your brain.
Retrain your brain, your taste buds, all of them, because they're linked anyway.
So there is something else in this. You see, a lot of people are addicted to this. Why I'm finding this a problem, why I brought this is because then the next thing, imoto go drive through lunchtime so I know the flour here is white and this is it's white bread, the nyami process, but then the system it converts to glucose, shoots your sugar levels up. So it gives you that Fong Kong high, that Fong Kong image. But it's not right. So is that what's addictive in here?
Yeah, it's the taste. It's very stimulating as well, but also there's flour with the buns as well. And we've already mentioned that there's also that sugar element to it. It's salty. It's got all these flavors that are very stimulating to my taste buds, but can also affect then the brain as well.
I need to ask you this. Why is it that this is assumed to be delicious more than my vegetables? I think it goes back to marketing or to the psychology.
It's marketing, yes. Marketers are very smart because they also have some psychological training to some extent, because they also need to know how to market something for you to be able to buy it.
Yes.
But also there's a lot of additives that are included in the food that you consume, so that you want more of it, so that it's very yummy, so to speak.
Yeah.
And then you train your tongue to get used to being stimulated, and when you have your vegetables, it's like you're not really eating. It's boring. But if you're used to having vegetables, your celery, all of these things, yes. It's nice. It's as well.
So Cindy, in essence, this food that we've talked about that's addictive, what is it that it actually says to my brain that makes me keep coming for more?
What happens is that your brain is stimulated in a sense that I think we've already mentioned certain parts of the brain that get affected. With regards to your reward system, your brain wanting to be rewarded all the time. But also you have your neurotransmitters, and neurotransmitters are basically the parts of the brain that transmit a message from one neuron to the next neuron to the next neuron, so that your body does certain things. And so the neurotransmitters that get affected tend to be your dopamines, your serotonins, and
dopamine,
so forth.
dope.
Exactly, so they get affected, and they're supposed to be at a normal state, but when they get affected, or there's too much dopamine or there's too little dopamine, for instance, then it's not natural. The way that your body functions starts to be unnatural, and you might want more of the dopamine, for instance, because now your brain learns that I can get to this level, I want more, I want more, because then I get excited all the time. So having that dip, because generally when you are addicted to something, you'll drink it, you'll smoke it, you'll get high, and then when there's suddenly a dip, you want more because now you're depressed. There's been a serious dip in your mood, for instance. So we take these things because we want to keep ourselves at a particular level, or the brain wants to keep itself at a particular level. So yeah.
Ooh. Next question, please, Tebza.
Ke kopa le ntlhalosetse hore nka laola jwang tsela le hore ke ja ka yona. Ke kopa le mfe tsela ya hore ke dile jwang le food cravings le withdrawal symptoms.
Sindisiwe, cravings, withdrawals. English, what does that actually mean?
Cravings, basically. You want more. You want it. Not that you need it.
Yes.
You know, when you eat chips or something, or chips, it's not that you need it to be full. That's a craving. You crave the thing. You don't need it, but you crave it. And then you withdrawal. Withdrawal, it's basically those symptoms that you have once you've stopped something that you used to do. When you've seen alcoholics when they haven't had, they shake, so it's those symptoms that you have. Anxiety, I think there were studies done as well on rats where they took away the sugar from the rats, and the rats became very anxious. So sometimes you can get a lot of anxiety as well if you are addicted to a particular something, even sugar.
Even nicotine.
Well, with the rats it was sugar. So even nicotine, anything that you have been addicted to, that you have been using a lot, you can get affected, you can become depressed now because now your mood is affected because maybe you were using the substance to elevate your mood, and then now there's a complete change. So there's those tend to be your usual withdrawal symptoms.
So actually, then, it's actually you're addicted to sugar. You're addicted to the sugar in the food, because most of the food that you talked about, you're not necessarily addicted to the food. You're addicted to the sugar. It's the sugar that's in the food that's so addictive.
Yes. Studies are showing that it's the sugar that is in the food, or the stuff which, it's the sugar that's in the food that you're addicted to. And that's why they put the sugar in there, so that you have more of it.
Business for them.
Exactly.
Killing for us.
Exactly.
Okay, Cindy, so let's talk about the good food. The one that we should be addicted to, but we're not.
Yes.
This looks incredible.
Yes, I think we've already mentioned a little bit on this, that the sugars here are more natural. They're not processed. Nothing happens to the fruits before, it came to your mouth, basically. You can see the sugar coming into your mouth because you're the one eating it, so to speak. So that's why this is much better. There aren't excessive amounts of it in the fruit or in the substance that you're eating. There's enough for you to actually manage yourself, so to speak. So this is much better than what we normally have.
And of course, the seeds. I know that we get a lot of things from these pumpkin seeds and all of that.
Yes, basically these are your make me smarter food substances.
It's what you eat.
Basically, yeah, when I have time. But yes, generally I also, you know, it's smarter to have these because they also improve your brain capacity and your brain functioning. So it doesn't actually limit how, it improves your ability to think critically and all of these things.
Yes.
So it's much better to have your seeds, whichever kinds of seeds they are, flax seeds, sesame seeds, pumpkin seeds, danger, yeah.
Sindiswa, thank you so much for your information and thank you for spending time with us.
Thank you for having me.
Wow. Do you have an addictive personality? Are you addicted to food? Come, be honest, this is a safe space. How did you feel about this topic today? Come, share it with me. La Dijo Le Bophelo at Dijo Le Bophelo, or Facebook me, Dijo Le Bophelo, Instagram me, ukudla kwakho that is not addictive. You can email me on dijolebophelo at sabc.co.za. This interview is being posted online for Tebogo to view and take my notes. Now you can also log on and watch it again on SABC Education's YouTube page. Usifuna lapha Dijo Le Bophelo. We go back to Debza to hear what Debza has learned from our psychologist. Stay tuned. Siyabuya much. Welcome back. Usasenami la Dijo Le Bophelo on SABC2. When we met to Debza earlier on, ebefuna ukwazi ukuthi ingabe is he addicted to food? Useyibona ingxoxo yami ke online with my expert. Let's go back to Tebogo and find out what he has picked up from my chat with Sindiswa.
Dijo Le Bophelo ke le buile haholo ka tlhahiso leseding e leng fileng yona ka moraro ke shebe show ke bone hore ke mong wa motho addicted a ratang le dijo haholo ho ke bone ke na le takatso e kgolo ya dijo tse tswekere ho se ke tseba ka je hore ke dijo tse le reng ha di hantle karolong ya mmele wa ka ho tloha hona jwale ke tlo qalla ke ithuta ho ja dijo tse jwalo ka di-vegetable, di-fruits le ho nwa metsi kgafetsa for molemong wa ka le molemong wa health ya ka ke lebohile.
Awuphela kanjeni show yethu namhlanje kodwa ningakhathazeki niyazi ukuthi siyaqhubeka online angulahlele ngetweet uthi Dijo Le Bophelo or umface ku Facebook na ku Instagram Dijo Le Bophelo or email me dijolebophelo@sabc.co.za ngizonithola khona manje lapho online. Bakithi ningakhohlwa ukuthi le show le yenzelwe nini ukuthi nikhululeke nisibuze zonke bonke mayelana nokudla ngingibamba via email, social media or uvela uhamba eposini ungilahlele ngencwadi kwazi bani maybe your letter will be chosen and it will be your topic, that's topic of the week for next week's show. Remember ngaphandle kwemibuzo yenu tololo iDijo Le Bophelo. Masihlangane la kwa SABC2 for more Dijo Le Bophelo, same place same time ngizobe ngila ngigade ukudla kwakho nempilo yakho. See you then.